Hi everyone, thanks for coming back for another falconry video. Today's falconry word is intermewed. So hi, welcome to FlyOn. I'm a licensed falconer in the eastern part of the US. This is Charlie. She's an almost 14-year-old female red-tailed hawk. She has a deformed leg, so if you see that, don't be concerned. There's a description and a video linked about that below. So intermewed has to do with where you keep your bird between hunting seasons. Typically, the hunting season is fall into winter, over the new year, over the holiday season, and then spring and summer is when the bird kind of gets into breeding mindset and they molt their feathers. So we don't have a lot of activity with them during that period because we want the feathers to grow in perfectly if possible. And then fall and winter, we pick the birds back up and make sure they're ready for exercise, condition them, and fly them again. Now, if you're trapping a new bird, this typically happens I don't know the rules for places that don't have the same kinds of seasons as us. Like, you have the same seasons, but if it's warm all year or the leaves are in the trees all year, I don't know how falconry works there. So just bear with me for what we do here. When you trap, especially your first bird or a new bird, that's typically in the fall during migration. The baby birds are out of the nest by then. They're in an immature plumage. I don't know why I went like this. Like, I have immature plumage, but I'm kind of immature. I don't know. We're only allowed to trap birds in their first year. It depends on the species and the location sometimes, but typically you're only allowed to trap a bird in its first year. And it's in a first year because it's in juvenile plumage. A juvenile red-tailed hawk would have a lot more spotting on it. There's a lot of different kinds of red-tailed hawks. They also don't have the red tail yet. So for a red tail, it's pretty obvious when they're in that first year. They've just come out of the nest. They're not even a year old at that point. So we're allowed to take an immature bird, usually during migration in the fall. And I'm saying usually because I don't know the rules like around the world. So from my understanding, that's the time to do it. But if there are exceptions, it's possible. A lot of falconers will trap a bird in the fall, train it and hunt with it, and then actually let it go after the hunting season is done. Now, this is a good thing for the birds because many immature birds don't survive their first year over the winter. It's rough on them. Everything's in competition for food. If they're not particularly good at catching things, like this one. Don't try to look cute. You know it's you. We're working on it. She's been through a lot. But yeah, I mean, wild raptors revert back to being wild very quickly. She actually did that herself. I have a story when I actually lost her for a month and she survived. I got her back. It was this crazy banana pants story, but she came back fat. She had eaten something. So I've had her since 2015, I think. But she, eventually her foot situation would have made it extremely difficult for her to survive, but she did survive in the fall when she got loose. So they can have their wildness, like they never really lose it, is my point. So capturing a bird for a season and then releasing it helps the wild populations a lot. Well, she's non-releasable, so I don't have that option. If you do that, that's just one of the options. The other option, obviously, is to have the bird over the off season. Pin that for a second. I have a video about the falconry word mews and weathering area. Their mews is basically their housing. It's the shelter that they would be provided to, at least partially get out of the weather. There's all these rules and regulations about building your mews, and that you have to get it inspected. It has to be specific for falconry. So intermewed is when you keep the bird in the mews, you keep the bird between seasons. Intermewed is a bird that has been kept more than one season. It's kind of self-explanatory when you think about it and knowing that background part. So you can either release the bird or you can hold on to it. Again, rules and regulations are different in your area. Intermewed implies that they've been through a molt in captivity, or under your falconry license. Some people keep their birds for a very long time. Others release them, and that's just kind of the preference of the falconer. I get attached, but I haven't tried doing it in that method. When you're an apprentice, you only can have one bird, so it's not like I could have had a second one that at that point. And right now, as a generals, I could have up to 3, but I don't have the time or money yet. I still work full time and have a lot of health issues to deal with. So Charlie would be considered intermewed. There's a lot of other falconry words that would apply to her as well. And I mentioned a lot of falconry words in this video that aren't intermewed, but you'll see that word definitely on the falconry test material if you're learning to be a falconer. Or if falconers just say it around you, that's what they mean, that they've kept the bird for more than one season. Yeah, so that's Intermewed. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll talk to you later. Bye. So I'm a falconer here in the US. Here in the US. Is that necessary? Or over winter. Although winter you're flying them. Now you're quiet? She's quiet until I move. Now I've had Charlie for, what was I even saying?